All right, well, in the interest of time, respecting everybody's time, I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I know we have a lot to get through today. So my name is, like I said, Isabel Crum. I'm a business consultant at the Temple Small Business Development Center. For those of you who are new to the SBDC, we help small businesses start and grow through free one-on-one counseling and a variety of webinars like this one. We're proud to be part of a nationally accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the states. And you've joined us today for one of our manufacturing series webinars on closing your first online sales. So I know that our presenter, Josh, will be introducing himself. So I will let him do so, but we're very excited to have him today. He is the COO partner at Protocol 80, which is an inbound marketing agency and HubSpot Platinum Partner. And I will let him take us away. Josh?
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I appreciate Temple and you guys for having us here. This is a great series of presentations that you are putting on, and it's awesome to be able to offer this for manufacturing companies. So this is closing your first online sale, or as you'll see here, the title slightly different, inbound marketing for leads and sales. And I'm going to break this down for you so we tie back to closing more sales, whether it's your first or whether it's later on. So just a little bit more about me. I'm COO and partner at Protocol 80 Inc. Our agency primarily works with manufacturing companies. About 90% of our business is with manufacturers. Usually they're going to be contract manufacturers that are producing, smaller parts for other people. For other people, they might be second or third in the supply chain. I'm a HubSpot Certified Trainer. I lead the HubSpot User Group in Rochester, New York, and I'm also a HubSpot Community Champion. If you care to know more about me outside of work, I love cycling. I'm on Strava. If you're on Strava, please connect with me and we can check out each other's rides and give each other kudos. And also a big fan of craft beer. So if you're on Untapped and also a fan of craft beers, I love to hear about new ones, see what other people are drinking, and let's connect there as well. I also want to learn a little bit more about you guys. So if you can in the chat, please put your business name, your industry, and any goals that you might have from today's training. I'd love to see and understand a little bit better about you, and maybe we can address some of those goals if we don't talk about them specifically in today's presentations. So what to expect? I'm going to talk about why manufacturers are making this shift in changing, and why businesses are making the shift in changing so that they're starting to generate more leads and sales online as opposed to kind of the more traditional methods. I'm going to talk about elements of a successful strategy, how certain manufacturers and businesses are already doing it. You're going to notice that there's going to be a few GIFs in here, probably an office reference, maybe two, too many Bitmojis for sure, and we're going to save some time for questions and answers at the end. So if you have them, please post those questions throughout. If it's something super urgent, say, hey, this is super urgent, I want to address it now. Otherwise, we'll address all of those questions at the end. All right, so when we're launching a new website or when we're moving into a new marketing campaign and our goal is leads and sales, our expectation is we started this strategy, we kicked off, either we're doing it ourselves or we have an agency supporting us on this. We launch it and then leads and orders are going to start flying in. It's like a flip of a switch. Truth be told, it doesn't happen like that. Typically we're going to launch a new website or we're going to launch this campaign or effort or strategy, and we're going to get friends and family. They're liking our social posts. Maybe they check out the website. Maybe they comment on our LinkedIn announcement or whatever it may be. But unfortunately, when it comes to the digital space and any sort of online marketing strategy, it's not a if you build it, they will come type of environment. It takes work, it takes effort, and it takes a cohesive strategy. Why is that? Well, first of all, the online world is more cluttered than it's ever been. 18 months ago or whenever that was, March 2020, it became even more and more cluttered. When people were not able to go meet in person, tons of businesses made this shift to, all right, well, we know we have to still connect with people and generate leads and close sales. We need to be online. So the people that were already doing it stepped up their game. The people that were not aggressively marketing online started doing it. So this is just added to more noise and more clutter, which just means, unfortunately for businesses, it's just harder to break through that noise than it was 20 months ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago. Just makes us think about our strategies a little bit more and put a little bit more effort into implementation. One of the other things that we've seen is most websites just don't suck as bad as they used to. I've been doing this for 14 years, something like that. And in the past, so many people had websites that were just really mediocre. You had some that stood out, and you had some that were just either mediocre or just downright awful. So by having a pretty good website, you could stand out. But today, there's so many tools that allow us to have a pretty good website. And most people do. Most people have an SEO-friendly website that they're managing and adding content to and changing. It wasn't like that in the past. Now, I will add to this and say most websites. Now, this is a website that is still live today, and it's got an awesome, awesome domain name, like something that people would pay thousands and thousands of dollars for. But this is what we see from a website. And I don't know what spot you guys are in today, but there's no excuse with the tools that we have today, with WordPress, with Wix, with Shopify, with Squarespace, that we would have a website that looks like it was built in 1995. So what can we do? Inbound ultimately is what I like to see, or what a lot of people are turning to as the answer to digital. One of the things about inbound, or I guess the key factor of inbound, is it makes sure that you are there to help prospects find you, instead of you interrupting whatever else it is that they're doing. If our sales reps in the past were going and taking road trips and knocking on doors and hoping to get a meeting, that's interruption. People aren't taking those meetings. Even before COVID, people weren't taking those meetings. And as we see more and more, like engineers and buyers and purchasers and whoever it may be, execs, coming from that younger generation, the less and less they're going to take those unexpected visits. You have to be doing something that allows them to find you, as opposed to you interrupting them. Now, one thing about inbound that's really important is it must be strategic. This isn't taking one tactic. It's not taking, hey, I just want to be on LinkedIn and I'm just gonna be on LinkedIn and try to be successful that way. Inbound is about all of these different tactics: social media, search engine optimization, paid advertising, content marketing. It's about all of those things moving in the right direction, aimed at the same strategic objectives. That's what makes it so powerful. It's because we're taking everything and we're working all of these parts together, including sales, to achieve those goals that we're trying to achieve. Now, another thing about inbound is really customer-centric marketing. The old way of marketing or sales was that the person, the prospect, the lead, they had to rely on that salesperson to give them all of the information, whereas today's buyers are more empowered. They can find everything online. My favorite example, or one of the examples that almost everyone can relate to when it comes to being customer-centric marketing and the buyers having the power, is purchasing a vehicle. If you purchased a vehicle 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or even longer, you probably remember the process of maybe having a rough idea of what you were looking for, maybe having a rough price range. And then you'd have to go to the dealership. You'd have to talk to one of those aggressive sales reps, salesmen, and they'd tell you about the car. They'd tell you about the features, why you should go this model versus this model, how much it costs, whatever it may be. Today, before we step foot on the dealer's floor, we already know what we want. We've done all of that research. We know what that dealership's probably selling it for. We know what the dealership down the road is selling it for, what the fair price should be. We're empowered as buyers because we can find all of this information through simple research online. It's very different. So inbound takes that understanding, and the strategies that are built around the buyer. They're built around those prospects. So when someone's making a buying decision, especially one that is a considered purchase, meaning, I'm not going to the store and buying a pack of gum. I'm buying something that takes a little bit longer to decide, typical in the B2B space. We go through these stages, the awareness stage. In the awareness stage, we're looking for symptoms of a problem that we might be having in our business, or we might be looking for ways to take advantage of an opportunity that we have. When we're in the awareness stage, we're looking at websites, we're searching on Google, searching on Bing, and we're using social media. As we kind of progress down into the next stage, that's a consideration stage. In this case, we've defined our problem, or we've defined or have said we're going to take advantage of this opportunity. Now, how do we do it? Now we're comparing those different types of ways to either solve the problem or take advantage of that opportunity. Again, we're looking at websites, we're accessing social media, searching, maybe we're even looking at directories, ThomasNet, for example. And we might even be looking at e-commerce. If this is something that we can purchase right online, or your customers can purchase right online, they're going to be looking at stores that offer that online, whether it's your website or a standalone website, or whether it's something like an eBay or an Etsy or an Amazon. Our problem's to find. Finally, we enter the decision stage. The decision stage is when we take all of those different possibilities that we identified in the consideration stage. Now we have a short list. Now we're going to say, all right, well, what are we going to actually do? Who's going to be our supplier? Where are we going to purchase this? Again, we're looking at websites, we're checking social media, we're looking at search engines, so on and so forth. Now we're also probably looking at user-generated content, meaning reviews. We want to know what the experience was like for someone else in working with that company. So if we think about the considered purchases that we've made as consumers, whether it's in the B2C or B2B space, we could probably envision ourselves going through this. Now, when we're doing that, we're not only looking at these different mediums, but we're also engaging with different types of content. Now, inbound marketing is very, very content driven. Pretty much everything that we're doing ties back to content of some sort. Now, I'm going to explain that a little bit further. So we have things like one-sheets or research reports, ebooks, blogs, articles. Those are the types of things that we are going to access and read and consume when we're in that awareness stage. We're not ready to talk to a salesperson. We're not ready to see a business's dossier or whatever that may be. We're just trying to learn. Say, hey, is this a real problem? Is it solvable? Or is this an opportunity that's legit and we should pursue it? We're just trying to educate ourselves. Once we move into the consideration stage, we start to change a little bit of what we're consuming. And we start to look at, comparisons, white papers, expert guides. We might interact with chat at that point, which we might not do in the awareness stage. But we're changing the types of content that we're consuming as we move along. Then again, as we move even further along, this is when we're looking at the provider of whoever we're thinking about doing business with. In the manufacturing space, that might be understanding the capabilities and the machinery and the tolerances. It might be understanding, something about a specific product, comparing vendor A to vendor B. We're looking at case studies, and maybe we're even talking to other customers or reading testimonials. But now we're consuming different types of content as it relates to that stage that we're in the buying process. Now, the only way to be able to create content, create a strategy that follows this is to really understand your buyers, ideally your best buyers. You want more of those people that you really like to do business with, as opposed to the people where it's like you do business with them, but you cringe every time the phone rings. We don't want more of those people. We want our best buyers that are profitable, easy to work with, fun to work with, that you have a good relationship with. So to do that, we do or recommend a buyer persona strategy or a buyer's journey outline. And what these are is a fictional representation of your best buyers. It tells pretty much everything that you can think about or that you can define about these buyers. Now, you don't want to hone in on one specific of your best customers. You want to find the trends amongst all of them. Now, as a business, you might actually have multiple types of best buyers. You might have, for example, an engineer. An engineer, technically, if they're consuming the content and maybe directing the purchasing department, in that case, the engineer is actually your buyer. But you also might have to convince the purchaser or the buyer, or you might have to convince the CEO. If the trends are different amongst those different types of roles and different types of job titles and people, you probably have more than one buyer persona. It's also recommended to not just rely on your sales team and your customer service team to tell you about them, but go and interview and talk to your best buyers themselves. Ask them the questions, because you're going to be so much more informed than rely on that one-sided piece of information. So when we look at a strategy, regardless of what industry you're in, we need to first make sure that we have that brand awareness from people that don't know us, and we're re-engaging the people that already do know us, our customers. And in the digital space or in the online marketing world, we call this traffic. People that are visiting your website, visiting your social media pages, so on and so forth. That's the first area that we want to focus on, because if you don't have enough website traffic, you're not going to get enough conversions, which is that next level. Conversions are what we would consider leads. Now, we have different types of conversions. These are people that might be downloading an ebook, as I mentioned, or a white paper, or even chatting and leaving their email address, or something as simple as signing up for an email newsletter. These are our conversions. If we don't have enough traffic, we're not going to get enough conversions to make the strategy sustainable. After we start to generate conversions and leads, that's when we are looking at more of the sales path, right? We need to sell to these people that are leads. If we're just getting leads and we can't sell to any of them, they're not good enough for us, right? Ultimately, any business needs to look at their bottom line and say, this needs to be profitable. We need to have a return on our investment of either time or money. So once we have enough conversions, that's when we can start handing these leads over to sales, and ideally closing them at a sustainable and predictable level. Now, obviously, when you're first starting and you're starting to get those small volumes of leads through, obviously you're going to hand those over to sales, and they can probably work and talk to everyone. But at some point in time, we're going to have to understand which leads are sales-ready leads, which leads are not sales-ready leads, and further nurture them. But at a high level, these are ultimately our goals: traffic, conversions, and sales. You might be saying, yeah, that sounds good. Well, how do we do it? How can you take that, or what are current manufacturers and B2B companies doing to be able to be successful with inbound and closing those online sales? One thing that they're doing is they aren't thinking in a silo. Again, this ties back to my comment about being tactical. If we think too much in a silo and we say, hey, I only want to be on Alibaba, right? And that's going to be my entire marketing strategy. You might get some wins here and there. But ultimately, you have to think back to that buyer and say, where is my buyer, my prospects, my leads? Where are they spending time? Are they spending time on Etsy? Are they spending time on Google? Are they on Amazon? Are they on Thomas? Whatever that may be for your business, you need to understand where they're spending their time. And then that's where you need to be in some capacity. And I know that's not feasible for absolutely everyone. If you're a contract manufacturer and you're producing a small part for someone else, and it's very specific to whatever that end use is or whatever the OEM needs, you're probably not going to be on Amazon, right? But in that case, your buyer's probably not looking for your part on Amazon either. They may be there as consumers looking for things for their personal life, but as you're deeper and deeper into the supply chain, it's going to change where they're looking. Now, those users are probably on Thomas looking for suppliers. Successful manufacturers are also focusing on ongoing search engine optimization. Almost everything we do today in the B2B or B2C world is going to start with a search. That's going to be a search on Google or potentially even a search on one of the social media platforms, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. But all of these are starting with search. And there is zero excuse today in 2021 and 2022 to not optimize your website. All of the platforms have made it so easy to do. If you're selling online, you're using something like Shopify, they're giving you the tools to be able to at least do the bare minimum of search engine optimization. Now, I also don't mean to make SEO sound like it's just a trivial thing and anyone can do it, because that's not the truth. You know, there is a lot of strategy and understanding behind it. But every business should be at least doing the bare minimum, because the tools are defining what we need to enter from an SEO perspective for the bare minimum, right? We have to enter a page title. We have to enter a description. This is another example of a WooCommerce WordPress website. You know, Yoast is the most common SEO plugin that WordPress users are using on their website. And they're basically telling you exactly what you have to do at the bare minimum. That'll get you started. Now, obviously, at some point, you should talk to an SEO professional. They're the ones that can really help guide strategy and help you go a little bit further. But you can at least get to that starting point by doing the bare minimum. Successful B2B companies are also prioritizing content. Content is super important. You know, when we are searching and when we're finding things that support our education and what we're trying to understand, whether it's, you know, an article from Kelley Blue Book about cars, or whether it's something about the types of materials we should use in a specific metal application, everything that we're looking at, website pages, videos, social media posts, blog articles, white papers, that's all content. So to be successful with online marketing, you need to make sure content is prioritized. And Google is smart enough now to understand, hey, this is a website, this is a marketer that's just throwing content out there to throw content out there, versus a marketer that's actually creating great content, well-written content. Google's crazy smart. They can understand that. Now, as I mentioned, we work with manufacturers, and they aren't OEMs in most cases. Some of them are, but most of them aren't producing anything that we use as consumers on a day-to-day basis. So when they think about that, they're like, gosh, everything we could write about is super boring. Nobody wants to read about, you know, when to use a specific type of steel versus, you know, a different type of alloy or whatever that may be, right? That's what they think. Well, that's not true. There are people, there are engineers out there that need to know this information, because while they are really good at what they do, in most cases, they're not good at what you do, right? You do something different. You help them through a problem. You help them take advantage of an opportunity. Those same people are consuming content, and they're your prospects, they're your customers, they're your best buyers. So we need to be prioritizing content to write for them and help them through, so that you, again, are showing up when they're looking for this stuff online. Now, when you're starting out, it's really important that we focus on this funnel. I'm going to explain this funnel for you, because you're probably like, I don't know what tofu, mofu, and bofu are. Tofu would be top of funnel. Top of funnel would be that really high level stuff. People that are consuming this really high level stuff, you're going to have a mix of people that are your best buyers. You're going to have a mix of people that are like, yeah, we'll take them if they come along. And you're going to have a mix of people that are terrible buyers. College students are going to be consuming top of funnel. It's the most high level aspect of what you guys do in your industry and what you provide. That would be top of funnel. Now, it's really important to focus on top of funnel, especially if you're just starting out, because we want to have that broad focused content in order to get enough traffic so that we can get enough conversions, again, so that we can get enough leads. Middle of funnel, or MOFU, that's where we're a little bit more specific into the type of content that we're doing. So like this might be more specific to the types of products that you specifically produce, as opposed to the industry focused articles in general. And then BOFU. BOFU would be bottom of funnel. Manufacturing companies, B2B organizations have historically lived here. They're really good about talking about themselves, right? Here's our product guide, here's our capabilities, here's everything that we have to offer, here's our mission statement, our leaders, right? That's all bottom of funnel stuff. Nobody cares about that until they're ready to buy. So if you focus on bottom of funnel content, you're going to get such a small portion of traffic that it's not going to be able to be impactful to the conversions and ultimately the sales that are really going to drive that bottom line and help you achieve your goals. So here's some real life examples. Soft magnetic composites. Someone enters that into a search engine, right? They're probably someone that knows something about soft magnetic composites, but they're probably not like doctorates of metallurgy, or maybe they are. What we see here when someone searches for soft magnetic composites is Horizon Technology. And this is a blog post. This is one of our clients. And it's basically talking about what is a soft magnetic composite. This is top of funnel. This isn't, specifically why you should use a soft magnetic composite for whatever this application is. This is just base level information about soft magnetic composites. Now, my favorite thing about this screenshot is you've got this pretty broad search, and you've got this blog post ranking first in organic search. And then you look down here, Hagenas is a very large supplier of soft magnetic composites. GKN, one of the largest powder metal companies in the world, if not the largest. And we've got Horizon here, small company, small to mid-size company, manufacturer out of St. Mary's, PA, ranking above them. It's awesome. Now, when someone clicks that link and they go to the page, what is a soft magnetic composite? It really talks about that. It's giving them the education that they need to understand what is a soft magnetic composite. They don't flip the script and say, hey, here's what Horizon can do from a soft magnetic composite standpoint. It's truly giving them the information. Now, the nice thing is this person that's educating themselves, they're seeing the brand, they're engaging, and we can help to do things to engage them even further. But it's important that these top of funnel article-based contents are about what that person is looking for, what the people are looking for when they're engaging with that type of content, not flipping the script and talking about you or other middle or bottom of funnel types of things. So does this work? Well, here's an example of a manufacturing company, supply chain, or a contract manufacturer that has prioritized content, right? We see as they started, small little jumps here and there, but the more and more that they do, right? We see now that they're generating over 5,000 visitors a month. Most of that's coming from organic search or Google. The other cool thing about this is you might say, hey, our content's boring. We're not going to do much with blogs. These are the top 6 pages that are driving all of this traffic. Number 1, blog post, 2 blog posts, 3 blog posts, 4 blog posts, or 5 their homepage, and then another blog post. So the majority of this traffic is coming from blog posts, which to most people, honestly, is going to be super boring. But to people that it's written for, it's going to be super helpful. Here's another example. Another contract manufacturer, in this case, back in April 2020, almost 15,000 visitors, mostly from organic search, right? This is pretty steady. They're averaging over 10,000 visitors a month, and it's even higher if I were to update this slide today. Now we look here at the types of blog posts or types of content driving all this traffic. All of them are blog posts, right? How many of you guys can say, last year or whatever, one blog post drove 35,000 visitors to our website? It's pretty powerful. So another way that manufacturers are getting more traffic, especially early on, when they're just starting, is they're using sponsored advertising. Now you might be saying, well, sponsored advertising, that's not inbound. That's like traditional types of advertising. Sure, kind of. But you can use sponsored advertising in a way where it makes sense. It helps to target people when they're looking for something specific, where they're looking for something. So here's an example of how some manufacturers and other B2B companies are using sponsored advertising to target their best buyers. They might use Google Ads and say, hey, we work in this specific geography. I want my website to show every time someone searches for this keyword. And you only pay on a cost per click basis. You can do the same thing with LinkedIn, with Thomasnet, with Alibaba. You can say, I want to target this group of people. Now, when you're first starting and you're just like getting your feet wet with blog post writing and search engine optimization, you're not going to get a ton of traffic from that. So using sponsored advertising is a way to kind of kickstart that. So you can start to get traffic while your content starts to be produced, while your search engine optimization starts to be impactful. So when we dive into the next portion, leads, we need leads. Just getting traffic isn't enough. Ultimately, if we're not getting conversions, then our sales team doesn't have people to sell to. So successful companies, successful manufacturers are thinking about, all right, if my best buyer is reading this article, what's the next logical thing that they would read or consume or engage with? By understanding that, we can help to guide our website visitors in the path that, sure, it's where we want them to go, but it's also helpful for them because it makes sense, it's logical. So when we're looking at examples, these are what are called calls to action. Our calls to action would exist on a blog post and allow someone to click to take that next step. So you'll see how these are also broken out into more top of funnel and middle of funnel. This call to action would be on a top of funnel blog post because it's really just an intro to motion control and counterbalancing for this organization, right? They'd click that and then they'd be taken to a landing page that looks something like this, where in this case, they're going to be able to download this intro to motion control and counterbalancing free. They're not paying anything for this. When they click on these ones, these are more middle of funnel. This is like engaging with an actual engineer or a motion control expert. The middle of funnel here, probably middle, maybe bottom of funnel here. When they click these are probably going to exist on more middle of funnel type of articles, more in the weeds, where in this case, the person's probably decided on using counterbalance hinge as opposed to a different type of hinge. So then they would see this call to action versus this top of funnel one, which is just a general information guide, okay? Now, when they click one of these other ones, it would take them to a different type of landing page, right? In this case, this one's about asking questions specific to the engineer. The engineer would get this and be able to answer the question, but now the engineer or buyer knows this is someone that's researching counterbalance hinges. This is a lead. It's a valuable lead. We know where they work, we know their first name, their last name, and we know this, the general idea of the problem that they're trying to solve or whatever they're trying to design, and we can continue the conversation from there. Now, does this work? These are 3 examples, again, from contract manufacturers that are using inbound to generate leads. So you'll see this says new contacts, right? So when they start, they're generating almost none. I mean, this is typical for a B2B organization or manufacturer. They're almost generating 0 leads from their website. But as you continue to add more and more content, do more and more from search, have more and more white papers, ebooks, guides, we're going to see more and more contacts coming through. So in this case, we're seeing over 60 contacts on a monthly basis, over here between 75 and 100 on a monthly basis. And most of this is driven from organic search. You see the other colors here. These are the other mediums that they're coming from: paid search, email marketing, social, so on and so forth. It works. If you understand what your best buyers are looking for, you can generate leads on your website. Now, this is a kind of another example, again, from a contract manufacturer that's showing where the contacts are coming from. And you'll see that the vast majority are coming from online mediums. All of these are online. This one, offline, This is what their sales reps are able to generate from new contacts, which sure, it's pretty good. And they'll continue to be able to do that. But if we can also backlog their pipeline of, let's even say a third of these, or even less than a third of these are qualified leads, that's still a significant number of new sales ready leads or qualified leads that your sales teams can communicate with and engage with, right? Now, when we're looking in the B2B space, I also understand that these sales processes can be very complex. You know, a sale doesn't happen overnight for pretty much any considered purchase. Sure, every once in a while it's going to happen, but most of these considered purchases are going to be fairly complex and lengthy. We have some clients that have 2+ years sales process, so their teams have to engage with them over time. So people that are successful at this understand where their buyers are in the buying process and use tools to help nurture them along the way. In this case, this is a screenshot of a marketing automation workflow where someone engages with the brand. You know, they download an ebook, they do a demo, whatever it may be, right? And then based on whatever the criteria is or whatever that person's qualified, you know, aspects are, right? They're in a specific country, or they downloaded a specific ebook, or they filled out a specific form. We would then have them pass through this workflow. In some cases, it's going to go directly to a sales rep. Sales rep should call them today because they're sales ready, right? In other cases, we understand that these people are just educating themselves still. They're not ready to talk to a sales rep, in which case they're going to get what you might consider or think of as a drip campaign. They're going to get another email that automatically goes out because the tools that they're using are smart enough to do that, that continue to educate them, right? And this can happen over 2 months, 3 months, 3 years. But by understanding what that buying process is for your best buyers, we can build something that supports you in the background. Other successful companies that are actually selling online and using inbound, they have a CRM. And when I say CRM, I don't mean you have an Excel spreadsheet of all of your leads and your prospects. Yes, people still do that. Outlook is also not a CRM. A CRM is a customer relationship management tool. It's a central repository where all of our contacts live, all of these leads that are coming in from our website, or all these leads that we're generating or getting at trade shows. They should all be going into one spot, and we should be storing all of our information as it relates to those leads in our CRM. Our CRM can help us understand what the history is, what the conversations have been. It can help us understand our pipeline forecast. It can even help us prioritize which leads our sales reps are spending their time with, which ones they're not. And it can help us understand from a marketing perspective, what are our better performing channels, what are our worst performing channels, and what can we do to fix it. Successful manufacturers, successful B2B companies are also using sales enablement tools. By sales enablement, I mean they are using tools to make them work more efficiently. There's a stat out there that like the average sales rep only spends 33% of their time actually selling. The rest of the time they're writing emails, they're reporting, they're entering data into places, right? We can make them more efficient by, you know, using the content that our marketing is producing and creating emails that are easy for the sales reps to pass along. They're blog articles where they know, hey, we already talked about this, check out this blog post, read about it. They understand it. They're using automation so that they don't have to remember in 3 weeks, I need to email this person again. The automation tools can automatically send that email to that person in 3 weeks. And as one that I really like, they're sending one-to-one personalized videos. Meaning, hey, instead of just sending a text email, I'm going to send a video to that person on the other end that's like, hey, I'm Josh. It was great chatting with you the other day, or I appreciate you downloading our ebook on whatever. I noticed that your company does XYZ, and I also wanted to send this along. If you have any other questions, reach out, email me. This is a one-to-one video made specifically for that person on the other end. Now, these two things here, a CRM, free. You can get HubSpot free, so there's no excuse. Salesforce, I don't think, has a free version. Zoho, I believe, does have a free version. There are plenty of CRMs out there. Just choose one that works well for you that you can actually adopt and everyone in the organization can use. Soapbox, Vidyard, free. Just a Chrome extension. Very, very easy to use. You don't have to pay a dime for that. Loom, slightly more functionality. Still, it's not free, but very, very cost effective and easy to provide a return. Successful manufacturers are also reducing friction in whatever sales process they're looking at, right? They're making it as easy as possible for their prospects to engage with their brand and find the things that they're looking for. So here's an example of Dahlstrom roll form. They also do metal moldings, and they know that architects and designers need drawing files, right? So they have this huge catalog that they've digitized, put online, and made it easy for any architect or designer to go and download the drawings, or they can download a bunch of drawings and request a quote for these types of things. But essentially, they've turned their what used to be a physical catalog into an online catalog. Most of you can probably do something like that if you have products. They're also using chat. One thing that the pandemic has shown us is that B2B buyers are more apt to engage with chat than they are with forms. They want to find an answer as quickly as possible, and typically they can get that answer if they chat with someone on the other end. So if you're not using chat, again, you can do this and you can do it for free. So again, no excuses to not be using chat. They use social proof. So whenever we buy something now, we want to know what the experience was for someone else. So if you can, if it makes sense for your business and you have reviews, you have other people that are doing this and they're legit, people can read through bullshit reviews, right? If they're legit, put them on your website, share them. Most people aren't going to buy something without talking to someone else and understand, hey, what was your experience like with this organization? Now, I know I've been talking a lot about content and blog posts. I don't mean to take away from the importance of a website as well. Websites are still very important. So as a buyer is going from awareness to consideration to decision, at some point they're going to look at your business and say, can this business do whatever we need them to do, right? Are they going to be the right supplier for us? Are we going to have a good relationship with them? Are they capable? Can we trust their on-time delivery? All of that stuff, right? So you have to also make sure that your website is in the best shape it can be, and it shows your experience, and that you instill confidence in these prospects. So make it look nice. Have content that shows how you're helping people, not confusing content that speaks over the heads of these prospects and these readers. Help them. Have a great web presence from start to finish. All right. So just to sum everything up, if you're looking to close sales, you're looking to sell online and move away from more of the traditional offline types of selling, or you're a brand new business and you know that online is the way that you're looking to go, be modern, be customer centric. You need to start with traffic, meaning you have to be where your customers are, you have to be doing SEO, and you really have to prioritize content. If you're very, very new and you have the budget and it allows it, start with sponsored advertising because it can kickstart that. The next thing we have to look at is what are the types of things that our prospects are going to consume, and we need to look at conversions. Offer them those conversions on the content that you're writing, or offer those conversions on the social media posts. What are the guides, the checklists, the ebooks? Those are the types of things that are very low committal, so people will engage with them, but yet it's someone that is raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm researching this. Finally, just because we're getting traffic, because we're getting conversions, we also have to set up our sales team or our e-commerce for success. Reduce friction, make selling easy, and again, instill confidence that you are the right supplier, that you are the right company to help them both short-term and long-term. So that's what I have for today. I do want to go and talk through any questions that we might have Hopefully we do have some in the chat pane, and I'm also going to be joining in office hours immediately after this. So, Isabel, do we have any questions in the chat? It doesn't look like we do have any questions in either the QA or the chat.
Yeah, I am not seeing either questions in either. Everybody, if you have any questions, you're welcome to drop them into the Q&A or put them in the chat. This is, if you haven't been on Zoom a ton, I'm just putting a message into the chat so you can find it easily. If there aren't any questions, I can go ahead and also drop in the link to the survey. We always have a survey for every webinar and training event that we do. So please, our funders require us to collect your feedback, and we truly do look at it and value it. So here is the link to that. While you're thinking of your questions, I'm going to take a minute to go ahead and complete that. And definitely feel free to ask any questions that you'd like. I am not seeing any. Well, Josh, if we don't have any questions, do you want to jump over to the office hours early? How do you want to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump over early.
Okay, great. So everybody, just so you know, we are going to do office hours after this, at the end of this session. So we'll hang around to take any questions that you might have that you want to take one-on-one. And I will let me grab the link to that real quick. And that's going to be meeting style. So you'll be on camera, you'll be on video. We can, if you'd like to be, we can, we'll be able to see everybody. Here is the link to those office hours. And if there are no questions, we'll just see everybody over there.
Awesome.
Thanks. Okay, thanks everybody
Isabel.
for joining us. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. Bye.